Yeah.
All right.
Feeling good.
Feeling good? Okay, awesome. All right, so... My name is Shanti Balatonagutsu, but I go by Bella. I'm 20 years of age. All my life path,
Well, what do you like doing in your life right now? I hate that question.
Yeah,
but
I hate that question too.
Yeah.
I always feel like whatever I say is not enough.
Yeah, that's what this whole video is about.
Yeah. So I've just been working to save some money to go traveling. I'm going to Europe next Sunday. No idea what I'm going to do after that, but I've recently let go of needing to know.
My name's Georgie. I'm 24 and I'm an actor.
I'm Adam Berger. I'm 22 years old. And I just moved to Sydney chasing the career dreams as a designer, as a musician, and yeah, chasing those dreams that I've held onto for a long time.
Oh, like, I mean, the typical one's going to uni, right? And studying and, like, becoming something successful. But I feel like in just, like, the generalization of that is just having a direction, like, having a passion. I feel pressured that I should have a passion, you know? And, like, I see people around me and, like, I mean, even in a sense, you know what you want to do. And, like, for me, especially when, like, and I broke up and I saw he'd graduated from film school, I was like, what the fuck have I done for 2 years, you know? So I think it's definitely coming from an internal place. Like, no one around me is going, I mean, apart, like, my Indian grandparents, like, I was like, oh, you're a lawyer.
Yeah. So true. My grandpa wanted me to be a lawyer so bad.
Apart from that, it's definitely internal. Before it was definitely like, oh, I gotta go to uni, but I think now I'm finding it's more like, oh, I need to know what my passion is. Because for some reason it's not fine to just like be a human just existing in this world. You know, you need to have a passion. But I think it's really a good thing to have a passion, because I think humans really do thrive from like structure. Like, I really want to find my passion, but I also am like trying to be okay with the time in between now and then and not viewing it as just the time in between, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That very much feels like a certain pressure I've got. Everybody else around me is sort of expecting some kind of that, and to be having a full-time job that's stable, you know what your paycheck is, you've got a salary, and then you stay in that job and you stay where it's secure. Whereas for me, I just don't feel like that's a way to live. And I always find that I feel really called to do things that are fresh. And I feel that when I'm in a job for too long where everything kind of feels like autopilot, I get really bored. And I feel like, okay, it's time to change it up. And I always knew that like my life path was going to be very different to the people around me. I remember being like 8 and being like, I'm not going to live in Adelaide forever. I'm going to move interstate. I'm going to move overseas. I'm going to go traveling a lot. I'm going to go and experience life. That I think has always been like a very dominant feeling for me.
I think that we all have that pressure. There's always that pressure, especially coming from just if you've been to any school. I don't know if they're teaching differently now. When we went to school, it's still very much a path that is lying ahead for you. Go to uni, get a degree, or find an industry to be a part of. If you don't want to get a degree, like find a company or something to go into and like build from there. I think we've still seen a lot of people in my friend group that have done that successfully. There's still merit in the traditional path, but I think that it's a pressure that a lot of people feel. It's unnecessary now because you can do whatever you want these days.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, and it's sick to see. There's a lot of people creating their own world, their own environment, and a world and environment that they thrive in and they find success in. So it's very individual.
My relationship with my mum and my dad has like changed so drastically now, but growing up it was a little bit more. With my mum it was so relaxed, like I never felt any pressure. With my dad I felt somewhat pressure. I don't even know what but something. I felt some sort of pressure. I guess at least to be academic, that went away. And I'd say like for like the real influential years, 18 onwards, since I finished school, I guess. They were both like, which I'm so lucky. They're both like, I just want you to be happy, which like is the most beautiful thing I think a parent can say to a child.
I kind of blame my parents for getting me into acting anyway.
Really?
They put me into like performing arts classes when I was 3, and like it was something that I did as an extracurricular outside of school, like all throughout primary school. I think of like, oh yeah, what got me into it? And it's like, oh, I got into those classes and I just fell in love with it and never stopped. But they're the reason I got into those classes. And then plus they were taking me to theatre, they were showing me music. They were not discouraging of the creative side of me. However, it then sort of got to the end of high school and there was a very, very, very big push to go to university. And the fact that I was like, I don't think that that's something for me was a really hard thing to wrap their heads around. I did apply to uni. I got accepted into a course and I accepted it, then deferred it, then accepted it, then deferred it, then accepted it, and then deferred it. Because I felt very much in that moment, I was like, this is either going to be me going like, this is what's expected. I know what the next 4 years of my life are going to look like studying this thing. Or I actually do what I want to do. And the first year out of high school was really tough because I did decide to defer. That first half of the year I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Then I applied to become a counsellor. Though both of those things, counselling and tourism and event management, have a level of interest.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
For sure.
Every time I started moving towards that what's expected, there was something in me that went, I know this is wrong.
Yeah.
I know this is wrong for me.
My parents wanted me to do the traditional path.
Did they really?
They really did.
Yeah.
And they are academics themselves. Going to uni and getting a degree was like an obvious choice for them. It was like almost a must. I had just a calling to do something different and I was very stubborn and almost like rebellious to the fact that they wanted me to do that.
Yeah.
It's a common...
It is.
It's like the most common thing to be rebellious to your parents' wishes. I think it took a long time for my mum especially to see that this is the path that I want to go down and I'm drawn to and I'm like destined for, if you want to dabble in the destiny
I completely believe it. Yeah.
100%. I think it's difficult to go against it, especially if it's your family, not just your parents, like if it's your whole extended family.
It's the way it's always been done.
Yeah.
And you're the only person breaking out of
exactly.
that.
And it's like they don't get it because in their world that's how it's done, versus maybe your friend group or your circle, the people that you've attracted in your life are all like, that's crazy, like as if you wouldn't chase this dream or as if you wouldn't do this thing that you're called to do. So it can be difficult. You're kind of like embarking on your own.
Maybe a couple of years ago, I felt really pressured by myself to go do something when everyone like was starting uni or like, you know, when we finished high school and I was like, yeah, I'm doing this now. I was like, fuck, what am I doing? But then I went through a phase of not caring and now I'm kind of at a phase of, again, like internal pressure, not external. True, like what the fuck do I want to do? I go in and out, you know? Sometimes I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care that I don't know what to do. Like, life's not about knowing what to do. It's like here to have fun, going through the waves. And I've kind of just reached a place where I'm like, just taking every day, you know? But I definitely do get hit with these waves sometimes of like, I'm a failure because I don't know what I'm doing.
Especially because something like acting is not super stable. It's driven by creativity and intuition and not here's my to-do list and here are the expectations of my job. It's like your expectations change per role that you're doing. I don't know if it's so much that I feel pressure as much as just being misunderstood and having to try and justify myself and what I do and why it fills my cup. People sort of going like, oh yeah, but then what's your backup plan? What are you doing to pay your bills? And it's like, well, acting does pay my bills. It has paid my bills. Just because you have a certain perception on it and because I'm not sitting here as the next Margot Robbie and I'm not at that status yet.
Manifestation.
Big fan.
Watch out, guys. Watch out.
Hey, watch out for you
too. Watch out for us.
Watch out for us. Well, you don't even know.
You don't even fucking know.
Just because like that's not where we're at presently.
Yeah.
I find that there's a lot of sort of judgment. That's not 100%. A real career.
Yeah.
Because you're not there yet.
It can be a balance of both, but I think it usually comes from external sources first.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think personally.
Yeah.
and then you kind of double down on it yourself. And I think a lot of people do that. They feel this pressure from the world, even if they don't understand where it's coming from. You ask anyone this, they'll be like, yeah, there's pressure to be this or be something or do this.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like
where does it even come from?
Where does it come from? It's not like from a source. It's very subtle, and I think it's the conditioning that they've done throughout like society, because that's how we have progressed as a society.
Yeah.
Is all of these roles and all of these pressures to be things and do specific things. Like, we need that shit. We need people to be pressured into being doctors or like being lawyers. But then I think it can really build up in your head, and you can think that you're the only person going through this pressure to be something, whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah.
There's always going to be pressure, and you have to apply that pressure to yourself as well.
Interesting. What do you mean, like, to motivate yourself to actually get shit done?
Yeah,
right.
If you have a goal, you have a dream, or you have a vision, sure, there's pressure on the outside to be something, to do something. But if you want to go and be something and do something, you're going to have to fucking do that. No disrespect either. Like, I think a lot of people not chasing dreams are some of the happiest people that I know. It's not about what we're told to look like or be like. It's more so, if that's your journey, then you're gonna have to fucking keep at it and put pressure on yourself, essentially.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I do somewhat still feel bound to the traditional timeline. I'm like, oh my God, I'm 24 and I haven't even met anybody yet. And what am I going to do? I'm going to be alone forever. Like all of that. So there's definitely that. But then there's also, I remember watching Stranger Things. Oh my God, these young kids, they're super talented, but also they've reached this level of success at such a young age. I was working at that age. Why am I not there? I've missed my boat. That's it. No career for me.
Totally.
Like,
it's so easy to feel that way.
It's so easy to feel that way. But again, like what I just said about those Stranger Things kids, right?
Yeah.
It's like that again leans into from an external point of view, that's what a particular kind of success looks like. Maybe they didn't want that kind of attention and maybe they didn't want that. That's not to say that somebody else who's doing something else where you're not seeing their work on as large of scale, it doesn't mean that they're not successful. Like it's
redefining success.
It's redefining success, I think. And trying not to be bound by time. You and I are both big believers in divine timing.
For sure.
And that everything happens in its right timing.
And your own timing.
And your own timing. You're right where you're meant to be.
Yeah.
You're doing exactly what you're meant to be doing, because where you are now is going to lead to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, which is going to lead you to your definition of success, whatever that may be. So I guess it's just like going like, no, I'm doing what feels right for me. I'm doing what feels good for me. Fuck your timeline. The me 3 years ago would look at me now and go, wow, she's doing it. She's out there and she's doing it. But for right now, I go like, oh, I'm a further 3 years down the track. Like, shouldn't I be doing this or doing that? Or shouldn't I be here, there? Like, it doesn't fucking matter. I think that it's super important to sort of take stock and go like, oh my God, the me 3 years ago would be so happy with where I'm at the moment. Like, she would not believe it. And she would be so freaking excited. Fuck anybody else's timeline.
Fuck anybody else's timeline.
You heard it here first.
Timeline pressure is real. Like,
so real.
It's so real,
it's
man.
So
like,
real.
Fuck. Oh, you're 25 and you haven't done this yet? Shit.
And
like,
those people fucking have families.
Yeah.
And like full careers and like everything.
Literally. It's wild. And like, in the long run, it doesn't matter. I think if it's something that you actually want to do and pursue, then starting it at any time is the perfect time. And it sucks. Sure, you could have started it when you were 15, but instead you're like confused, or you're going through family shit, or like maybe went through a phase of looking like a goth or some shit. I don't know. People go through weird phases when they're
No, it's that same thing though. Like, stop comparing your path to other people's path. That whatever you went through, goth phase, part of your fucking journey, you would have grown and learned from that. Just looking at where you are now and what you feel called to do. Not trying to compare yourself to anyone else's path, because we all have our own paths, and every experience you have is gonna allow you to bring something unique that no one else has, I think.
For sure. And you gotta focus on that uniqueness that you have.
Definitely. I think there's still a lot of people studying, which I think is good. I think it's good to have a passion and to have aim. I think there's a lot more people studying a lot more creative things, like creative pursuits. Still studying, but it's more like, yeah, like videography or like acting. I think people also are just starting to give less of a fuck about what the norm is and what, I guess, older generations' paths were. You know, I think it's still, yeah, like I said, a lot of people studying, but more creative pursuits and things like that. There's still like a huge, you know, percentage of people that are still studying and doing everything like that, which is good for our society to keep functioning how it's been set up. We need that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's like the best thing like in the human race, but like the way the society and our lives are set up, we kind of like, you do need cogs in the works unless you want like to completely reframe the world, which would be great.
If you can contribute in a way that like you're happy, then that's good.
I think that we've sort of just come into a space of, especially like younger generations, of like, you can do and be whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't matter as long as you're happy.
Right?
I think that there's more pressure to be extremely successful. So yes, we're breaking away from that sort of traditional life path, but if you're going to break away from it, you have to be the most successful person at it.
That is so fucking true. I think that's a big part of why I don't often feel valid in like doing acting or creative path, because it's like, if you do a creative path, you got to prove them all wrong and like be at this pinnacle of success. Otherwise, you don't have that story.
Yeah.
It's just not valid of you living an ordinary life and feeling fulfilled in what you're doing.
It's fucking ridiculous. But I'm hoping that now it's like, okay, we've got a general sort of openness to other paths. As we move forward, it's like success looks like whatever the fuck it looks like to you, to the individual person. If you feel successful and you're living a life that makes you happy, feels on purpose and feels like your soul tank is so full, it doesn't matter. Success is whatever success is to you, not to how it's perceived by other people.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that's where we're moving to.
Energetically in the world, shit feels different. Yeah, when I was in Europe last year and seeing a lot of the hostels.
Yeah.
And so shit, like in the last, like 20 years, even traveling, exploring, and trying to figure out what you are into and who you're into, and like what kind of people you want to attract in your life and what kind of job you want to do, and all of those questions that you go traveling with.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
A lot of young people do. Before iPhones were so crazy, you'd have to navigate from maps. Things were hard and you'd have to find things like on a map or by speaking to someone, or you couldn't just call them up or book them online like the day of. And I think the freedom that we have at the moment in life is allowing us to break away even more from these things. Because the point I'm trying to make is like, if traveling and exploring what you're into is breaking away from your like the family mold of like being stuck in uni or corporate, like then back then it was hard.
Right.
So you didn't have a choice. Yeah.
Right.
There's less choice.
Yeah.
If you're sat somewhere South Korea and with a small family, you don't have a lot of money and you're getting pushed down this path to be something by your parents, and then all of a sudden you want to you have this drive to do something. You couldn't do that shit back then. It's fucking hard.
How do you even know? Like, there's no roadmap. There's nothing. You have no idea. Like, it's not even possible. It doesn't feel possible.
It's wild. Like, there's no roadmap. But now it's like, you can make money from your bedroom on your phone and book a flight and book accommodation and link with people online, all from your phone without parents even knowing about that shit, which is
crazy,
that's crazy
right?
thing, right?
Yeah.
You can
and that's
do
only
anything.
It's past 10 years too.
Yeah,
or past 5 years even.
Literally, since TikTok, creators and like linking up with creators was just a different sport back then. Like now it's just it's a beast now. And people are beasts. And I think that's because there's so much attention and so much money now, people are really breaking away from the mold in ways we've never seen.
Well, yeah, just definitely that you're not the only one that doesn't have to figure that. Fucking no one has it figured out.
1000%.
But like, I don't even feel like I'm in a place to give advice. I feel like I need advice. Like, I remember, I mean, it's so easy to feel alone in what you're feeling. Logically, like so many people feeling this feeling, you'd be like, I'm the only one. And like, also, not everyone's as open as like, say, we can have a conversation with each other. You know,
that's
like you see someone, you're like, fuck, they got it all figured out. They're doing all this, and maybe they'll act like they do because they don't want to be as open with you, or you don't know them that well, or whatever. But like, they probably don't. So it's like you see all these these people and you're like, oh, but they have that figured out. And it's like, do they really? Like, some people just fucking do have it figured out, and great, and like, go them. But I think it's way more normal for people just like, you know, not knowing what the fuck is going on. We live in an age of so much choice. There is,
So
which
true.
is like so amazing and great, but it's also like so much choice. What, you know, what do you want to do? All these things you want to do. Because it does affect your mental health. Honestly, deleting social media is insane for me. I just scroll, I doom scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll.
Yeah.
And then you just like see all these people doing these things on your phone and you're just lying in bed. I don't know. I just really found deleting social media is really good for just getting rid of that comparison part of yourself. And also letting yourself be bored, you know, and I think maybe that's like where I'll find my passion from, where I want what I want to do, because it's like when you let yourself be bored, you actually have time to be creative. Consequences come out of like this new paradigm we're living, you know, like social media and choice and everything like that. you
Yeah.
know? It is important to have conversations of like, yeah, fuck, I'm lost, what do I want to do, rather than just being like, oh, you're so lucky. I mean, I grew up with the mentality of my dad, you know, like, you're so lucky, you shouldn't be like questioning shit, you know, like just be you're grateful for what you got. But it's like, well, it's difficult in its own sense, it's relative, you know, and this is like the world that we're faced with right now, and like it is just confusing and difficult being faced with so many choices.
Just trust yourself. And I know that that's such like a like, oh yeah, shut up. But like, seriously, only you are going to know what's right for you. And it doesn't matter anybody else's timeline, anybody else's definition of success, anybody else's expectation, because your life is not theirs. It's just not. So do what makes you feel alive and you'll be all right.
Try shit.
Try shit.
Try some shit.
Yeah.
You can't really go wrong trying shit. And like, when has it ever been not cool to try?
Yeah. Didn't I send you this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When is it not
so true. It's
fucking
so true.
shout out Rocky? Like, when has it not been cool? He's the coolest motherfucker alive. And
I know.
like,
you know what's crazy? We look up to these people, and like, once you've made it to a certain level of success, then it's not cringe, then it's not embarrassing. It's like, how do you fucking think they got there? They hustled,
Exactly.
they were embarrassing, they put themselves out there, like, they did shit that no one else is doing to then get a life that no one else has. So it's
Exactly.
like, we idolize these people once they get to a certain point, but like, it takes a journey, it takes humility, it takes character building, and like,
Humility.
going through all that shit.
yeah.
So I think, yeah, try shit and do what you want, and like, ultimately it's your life. People judge you, whatever. They're not the ones that have to live your fucking life.
Exactly.
So you have to create it.
Unfortunately,
create what
you
want.
have to live your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, fucking no one else is gonna do that for you.
Unfortunately, yeah. It's so true though.
It's so true. And so find some joy in it. Find some fun and fall in love with the process.
Yes.
Is the best advice I've been given.
Yeah.
Massive
Alright.
slay. Yeah, shouts out.
Any last words, or that's it?
Get the vitamin D up.
Go to a park, sit in a park.
Go sit in a
Chat
park
with a
with your
friend.
friend and make a video.